Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Royal Milton, and I am a Montana cattle rancher. For me, it's a dreams come true. We live life very much in the outdoors, and I think as I view life from a little boy, that's where I wanted to be. And somehow the Lord placed in my heart as a little boy that that's what I wanted to do in life. The big question was, how do you get there? And it wasn't going to be because of family or anything like that, but I had a mother that shared that, tell the Lord about it. Tell the Lord about it. We were new Christians. When I was 9, became a Christian, same time as much of the rest of my family. There were 6 of us kids, I being the second oldest. And I was raised in ag culture about 75 miles from here, but the love of outdoors was all in there. But, I wanted to address this a little bit about biblical masculinity as I look back over life and see it probably from a broader perspective. And I think I would sum it up this way. Biblical masculinity to me would be the ability to take those things that the Lord gives and blesses you with in life, like wife, children, in my case, land, cattle, and an occupation and a business, and love and operate and live life in such a way that Christ would be honored. Maybe all the way down to the fences, in the way that you love and respect your children, the way you deal with your children. And I'm a lot older now. I got grandchildren and maybe great-grandchildren here coming up pretty soon. But there's a legacy got started with Christianity in our family, and even though there was struggles along the way, I really feel from the bottom of my heart, if we choose Christ, His principles, walk with Him through hard times when we don't have answers, when we have answers, and try to accomplish life from His viewpoint, He's going to bless that because He's going to be behind it. His Word is who He is. And I see that very important in the masculinity. It's not about pride. Life can become very humbling. And really, as I grow in Him, I see that He wants a humble servant that can still do His work, that can still stand up under pressure, that can love His children when there's an unlovable situation, that reacts biblically when the rest of the world would not do that. They would have a reaction, something different than that. And not that we wouldn't have that impulse to want to, but there's just something about the work of sanctification in a man's life, if he yields and chooses Him, that'll help you, I wouldn't say rise above it because you live right in it, but have a response that would match much more of what He would like it to be. We aren't lone rangers. So, okay, let's go. I'm not sure where to go with this one. So, you ready?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
The question of men in community. I went to Bible school for one semester once, and I read some evangelistic books, and I it sounded like, boy, if I'm going to do something for Christ, I'm going to have to find some people. And then the Lord placed me in a situation out here. We got neighbors, but there's a lot of miles between neighbors, and some of them we don't see for a month at a time. And where does men fit into community in a situation like that? Well, even out here, you have a reputation in community, so it's really important how we live our lives. It's amazing. Someone spent 5 minutes with you, they got an opinion, and so you want that in the community sense. Lord willing, if you choose Him, you want that reputation to be one that would honor Him. But even though it takes an independent spirit to live here, we also have need for other men in our lives. I remember growing up, my family weren't the best mechanics, but I went to a church, did Bible church, and there's some great mechanics there. And I think back to that in relation to community. They were Christian men, but there's some great mechanics. If you had a question, they could walk you through it. And one little thing about community. Another thing about community, that when you're around other believers, you learn something. You have also probably something to offer, not always like you feel like you do, but you learn something. I'll put it from that perspective. And I think especially I'll take this back to the church. It's just really good to be around other men, in the sense that we can reflect, we can rub shoulders together, we can discuss business matters, we can discuss Christianity, we can discuss struggles and how we deal with them. But often they have good answers, come right out of the Bible. Many times in my life, they just shared the Bible with me from their perspective and their life, and it's very helpful. And even though men and community might look a little different here in this environment, in the sense that we aren't rubbing shoulders all the time together, I'll just share one more thing. In the spring around here, it's branding season. And in this community here, and then roundabout community, and community here is, maybe 20, 25 miles. So I can have neighbors, even though we have people a lot closer than that that live here. We gather together to do a job that needs done. Everyone brings their gifts, everyone brings their talents, and we work with Christians and non-Christians alike. But it's amazing what that does for your heart after being all winter, not seeing quite so many people, and you all come together and you start doing some work. It's a community of work, and yet it's still a community to share Christ. It's a community to live Christ. It's a community to be an example of Christ. And I'm just amazed what community does, how it can lift one's spirits up. Sometimes you can feel like you're all alone, but you get around people and you realize, no, I'm not all alone. I'm just like the rest of these guys here. And we need each other. We really do. So, I'd say I operate with a smaller group of friends. I'm involved in a church that we attend regularly, that, we have community through this fellowship there, and potlucks and dinner at each other's tables, and helping each other with chores around the ranch from time to time. And I guess that's probably what I have to say about community, that men need each other, but probably most importantly, we have some things that Christ has done in our lives that other men need, and they're not going to get it if they don't get it from us. Okay, why should men be outside? Since I was a little boy, that's what I loved, outside. I love the space. I love freedom of the space. In ranching, you don't get it done indoors other than some of the paperwork and tax time. It's outside. And the Lord gave me a love for outside, and I think probably I can honor Him greatest by being outside in this business situation that we have. And I'm a hunter. Maybe not like you think of hunting. We are blessed with some property here that we make a living on, and that we also hunt on it. We're blessed with the full gamma of outdoor wildlife, from lions to elk to deer to, used to have some fish in the creek, but they aren't there anymore, so we can't fish right here. But my wife loves that also, and I just feel His presence there. I remember the first time that I heard the wind on the ridge and felt the sun where I was standing. And I was pretty young at that time in life. I said, man, I love this. God's creation. Feeling the warmth and hearing the wind, but don't feel the wind down here. I don't know why that left such an impression on me, but it did. My wife and I do not a lot of camping, but we make several campouts a year to some public land here in the Snowy Mountains. We love that. We love taking the horses in with us and packing our gear, because it's not a place that you can drive to. And I just think the Lord, well, it's His creation. He tells us in Romans that creation itself, we're without excuse. He tells us there's a God. And I think of that when I see all these people out hunting and heading off to go to the outdoors. And they say, well, that's my church. Well, I don't really think it's their church, but I think they find something there that only God has to offer. And He tells us it's Him. His creation speaks of Him. And I think, I'd say it's one of the reasons I just really love it. And this is springtime now. We're getting some calves right now. And them little newborns come out of their mothers and they shake their nose and get the all the juice out of it, and they pick up their head, and moms are talking to them, and they try getting up, and pretty soon they're up and they're getting some lunch. And that could go on in a shed, but it's not going on in the house very much. And there's just something about outdoors that speaks of Christ. And I wouldn't have always maybe put it just like I do today, but for some reason I always wanted to be outside. That's where I love to be, and I'm just thankful to the Lord that I can live a life outdoors and make a living outdoors, and still love it enough to want to recreate outdoors, and blessed enough to have a wife that wants to share that with me.